Student loan. We know it, hate it, and just can't wait to get rid of it. But the process isn't always so easy. So until the government decides to forgive it, you might have to live below your means. Since we can't see this heading our way, you should note down what we've got to say. In today's video, we're gonna give you some tips that'll help you get rid of your student loan timely. So, let's start with creating a budget. Okay, this might seem like a no-brainer for all of you, but we mention this right off the bat because it's probably the most important point we've got today. You need to know how much money you need to set aside for rent, groceries, or other important expenses. Create a document on your computer, or if you prefer old-timey habits, then maybe even keep a small notebook with you. Another feasible option is downloading a budgeting app online. Of course, we'd recommend you to go for the free versions, since it really doesn't make sense to spend money in order to save up. And another important thing, the first rule of making a budget is that you've got to stick to the budget. Don't buy those extra snacks, no matter how tempted you are. Or if you've got an eye on some fancy clothes, then budget for that. It doesn't make sense to deprive yourself of such pleasures. But compulsively spending a major chunk of your money on luxuries when you've got a student loan to pay is possibly one of the worst decisions you can make. Up next, choose your job wisely and get loads of free food. Alright, we spend a big portion of our paycheck on groceries and food, right? Wouldn't it be highly helpful if somehow these expenses were cut? Yes, it would. And besides, it's going to help you save lots of money. So, if you want to do this, then we suggest that you pick up some shifts at a local grocery shop or nearby restaurants and bakeries. These places often have an abundance of food they sometimes let the employees take home. Bakeries usually throw away the day-olds, and grocery shops don't keep fruits and vegetables for long either. So, if you're able to work out an agreement with your managers, then there's a high possibility that your food expenses will get cut in half or maybe even less. And if you're looking for more ways to cut down your food expenses, then we suggest that you read the first chapter of Steal This Book by Abby Hoffman. Once you skip past the somewhat illegal stuff, you'll find some pretty creative ways in which you can get your hands on tons of free food. Moving on, get on a ridesharing app. Now, this is something most of us should be doing by now. Finding a second form of income is perhaps the smartest way of living in the present economy. So, if you've got a car, then register for ride-sharing services such as Uber or Lyft. And well, if you don't want to spend too much time on this, as you've probably got a full-time job going on as well, then we suggest that you only use it while driving to and from work. This will help you cover your gasoline expenses at least. And well, if you find yourself with nothing to do on a weekend, then why not turn your unproductive afternoons into productive ones? Following up, track your spending before it hits your pockets. The rush you get when your salary hits your account is very overwhelming. We're certain that there's no other feeling like that. But keeping it that way actually ends up causing major problems. Knowing that that money is just sitting in your account waiting for you to spend it, well, that's sorta intoxicating, we're not going to lie. But this is where spending without thinking begins. And before you know it, you've spent a quarter of your salary at some fancy restaurant. We say this because on many occasions we've been guilty of doing the very same. One way in which you can effectively manage your finances is by taking out the money and separating them into different envelopes. Then, just label each of them accordingly. For example, if you're gonna spend $450 on rent, then put it in one envelope. And if you spend about $100 on groceries, then put it into another one. This will not just help you keep track of your expenses, but will also keep you from overspending. Just remember, you need to set limits for yourself and, in the end, follow these restrictions as if your life depends on them. Up next, never say no to negotiating. Let's be honest, who doesn't love a good bargain? Well, you're gonna love it even more if we tell you even the rates imposed on us by credit unions or banks aren't always set in stone. That's right. We often lose a good bargain because we are too scared of negotiating. So, here's one life-saving tip for you. Learn how to negotiate with financial institutions, especially credit card companies. Ask them if you can get a lower rate of interest or an annual fee, maybe even a long-term repayment plan. And if this doesn't work, then you can always tell them that you've got an abundance of other options. Don't worry if that's not the case, they don't need to know that. And the only thing you need to keep in mind is that these businesses obviously want to retain their customers, so there's a major chance that they'll end up cutting their rates so they won't lose you. Moving on, cards are not your friends. Now, this is something that all money savers should be well aware of. Cards are a great way of fulfilling your dreams and buying expensive items even if you don't have the money up front. Of course, they allow you to pay off the debt over some time, but that's just a trap waiting to clasp its jaws around you. Did you know only 35% of the American population is card debt-free? Now, these are some shocking statistics. You might be wondering how you can be a part of this small number. Well, here's what you have to do. Your card utilization should be under 30% of your overall limit. This would keep your credit score from being negatively affected and keep you out of financial distress. And of course, it keeps you from going way over budget. Coming up next, off-the-top savings. Off-the-top savings allow you to pay off your debt as you earn the money. That's right. Got a paycheck coming in. Budget it and save some money right away. This can be later used to pay off your debts without much of a hassle. First, what you need to do is sort out your debts. Pay the highest one first. Another common strategy is paying off your down principal first. This will reduce your interest in the overall amount. What does this mean? Well, it means that you'll actually be managing your debt in a smart way that'll help you to pay less interest. Another strategy is that you can agree to a particular amount being withdrawn from your checking account on a monthly basis. This is actually a more beneficial option since many student loan lenders offer discounts on interest rates with such agreements. And apart from this, you won't have to rely on your willpower alone to make the payments. Following up, you might want to consider downsizing. Hope you don't hate people up close in your personal space because this tip suggests that you should get a roommate. Getting a roommate is perhaps one of the easiest ways to save money on housing. So, if you're living alone and can't figure out ways to save more money, then this is the right answer for you. And well, pick one wisely, and we can assure you that your life is gonna get much more fun. But if you're living with a family, then we suggest that you downsize your house. Don't live in an expensive and fancy neighborhood if you've still got a loan pending. Up next, don't be scared of asking yourself difficult questions. Another major rule of living under your means is to ask yourself whether you really want something or not. You know that gym membership you got at the beginning of the year, or the subscription you completely forgot about. Yeah, it's time to get rid of that. And even if you keep telling yourself that you'll go tomorrow, it's time you really had that talk with yourself. And it's alright if you can't focus on these things right now, or even if you can't afford them. Just keep paying off the student loan as a priority and you'll be just fine. Try out loan forgiveness or defer payments. This option will come in handy if you're still on the lookout for employment. Ask your loan lender to defer your payments or maybe ask for forbearance, which will allow you to pause your payments for a short time. One other option you can explore is loan forgiveness. We understand that this sounds too good to be true, but this works in some cases. One way you can apply for this is if you've worked as a teacher or are employed in any other public service profession. That's all we have for 10 hacks you can utilize to live under your means and pay off your debt early. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more awesome videos like this. See you at the next one.